When it comes to building wealth, two paths dominate the conversation: index funds and real estate. Both can make you money. Both have passionate advocates. But they're fundamentally different animals. And choosing between them depends entirely on what kind of investor you actually are. So if you're trying to figure out where to put your money, or if you're stuck between these two options, stick around, because we're breaking down the honest truth about each one. If you're serious about understanding your money, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these deep dives into how wealth actually works. Let's start with index funds. An index fund is essentially a bucket of stocks that mirrors a market index like the S&P 500. You buy in with whatever amount you want, and you instantly own a tiny piece of hundreds or thousands of companies. The beauty here is simplicity. You don't need to know which stocks will win. You don't need to manage anything. You transfer money, it sits there, and decades of compound growth do the heavy lifting for you. The math is compelling. The average S&P 500 index fund has returned about 10% annually over the long term. And that includes every crash, every recession, every catastrophic period in modern history. 10% might not sound like much until you zoom out. $1,000 invested today grows to nearly $18,000 in 30 years, assuming you reinvest dividends and ignore the market noise. That's not luck, that's compounding. Time is your unfair advantage with index funds. You can start with $50. You can add money whenever you want. There's no landlord drama, no tenant headaches, no broken pipes at 2 in the morning. You check your phone, you see the number, and you move on. Your money is liquid too. Need cash? You sell shares in 3 days. It's not locked up in property. The fees are tiny. Most index funds charge less than 0.1% annually. That means on $10,000, you're paying maybe $10 a year. Real estate agents take 5 to 6% on the sale alone. That's $1,000 on a $20,000 property difference right there. But index funds aren't a silver bullet. You need discipline. The market goes down. Sometimes it goes down hard. If you panic and sell during a crash, you've locked in losses that compound backward for decades. Most investors fail at index funds, not because the strategy is bad, but because they can't handle watching their portfolio drop 30% and doing nothing. Psychologically, it's harder than it sounds. You also have to deal with taxes unless the money lives in a retirement account. And even then, withdrawal rules limit your flexibility. A stock market downturn can leave you broke when you need the money most. You can't refinance or rent out your index fund portfolio to create income. It's a passive hold, which is powerful, but it's passive. Now let's talk real estate. When you buy property, you're not just buying a place to live. You're buying an asset that produces income, that appreciates, and that you can borrow against. A rental property can pay for itself through tenant rent while you sleep. That's psychological leverage that stocks simply don't offer. Leveraging is the real power move in real estate. You put down 20% on a $500,000 property. That's $100,000. Now, you control $500,000 of an appreciating asset. If that property appreciates 5%, you've made $25,000 on a $100,000 investment. That's a 25% return. In stocks, you'd need the entire market to jump a quarter just to match that single property's performance. Property appreciation has been reliable over decades. Real estate has historically appreciated 3 to 4% annually, slower than stocks, but it compounds alongside the leverage you're already using. Combine that with rent income, and you're looking at returns that rival or exceed the stock market, depending on your location and tenant quality. There's also a psychological payoff that's genuinely underrated. You can see it. You can touch it. You can improve it and immediately increase its value. Add a kitchen renovation, boost the rent, watch the property value climb. That tangibility appeals to people, and there's something to be said for building wealth you can physically walk through. Tax benefits are substantial too. Mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, repairs, and depreciation can all be deducted, lowering your taxable income significantly. A well-structured real estate portfolio can generate income that's taxed far more favorably than dividend income from stocks. This is why so many wealthy people hold real estate. If you like the video so far, because this is actually breaking down the trade-offs instead of cheerleading one side, drop a like because it helps us keep making this kind of honest content. But real estate has real complications. You need capital up front. Most people can't just write a check for a $100,000 down payment. That means getting approved for a mortgage, which requires solid credit, stable income, and months of paperwork. With stocks, you can start today with $50 from your phone. There's also active management. Tenants demand things. Pipes burst. Furnaces fail. Vacancies happen. You're either dealing with this yourself or paying a property manager 15 to 20% of the rent to handle it. That eats into returns significantly. A stock fund requires zero active work. Real estate requires constant attention. Illiquidity is another friction point. Selling a house takes months and costs thousands in realtor fees, title insurance, and closing costs. If you need cash in a pinch, you can't just access it. You have to actually sell the property, and timing matters enormously. A market downturn can trap you. Market concentration is real too. A single property, even a decent one, is just one asset. A major market downturn in your city can crush your wealth in a way that owning hundreds of stocks from an index fund simply won't. Diversification is built into stocks. Real estate forces you to choose. Here's the honest middle ground. These aren't really versus situations. They're not either or. The most successful investors use both. Index funds provide stability, liquidity, and passive compounding. Real estate provides leverage, income, and tangible control. They work in different ways toward the same goal. If you want simplicity, discipline, and time on your side, index funds make sense. Start young, automate monthly contributions, ignore the noise, and let 30 years of compounding turn you into a millionaire. It's been proven thousands of times over. If you want to actively manage wealth, can tolerate leverage, have capital available, and enjoy the work, real estate is a legitimate path. It requires more effort and more skill, but the returns can be higher and faster. The real decision isn't index funds or real estate. It's about who you are as an investor and how much of your life you want to spend managing money. Do you want to make money and forget it? Or do you want to make money and actively shape it? The answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about which path works for you. Subscribe to the channel if you want more of this honest investment breakdowns. And if this comparison helped you think through your own situation, leave a comment telling us which path you're leaning toward and why. We read those, and they genuinely shape what we make next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.